Prince Zelarion of the 7th Celestial Empire stood at the entrance of Earth's International Space Academy, his iridescent scales shimmering with barely contained disdain. At 17 stellar cycles old, roughly 19 Earth years, he considered himself the epitome of evolved sophistication. His ceremonial cape, woven from quantum-shifted starlight, billowed dramatically in the artificial breeze of the Academy's environmental systems. And this is what the humans consider their finest educational institution, Zelarion announced to his entourage, making sure his voice carried just enough to echo through the Academy's pristine halls. How quaint. I suppose it's impressive. For creatures who only achieved spaceflight a few centuries ago. Ambassador Nixis, his long-suffering royal advisor, cleared her throat. Your Highness, perhaps we should maintain a more diplomatic tone? The humans have made remarkable progress in a relatively short time. Zelarion waved one of his 4 arms dismissively, the gesture causing his neural interface jewelry to tinkle musically. Progress? Please, Nixis. Their artificial gravity still relies on rotating sections. My great-great-grandmother's pleasure yacht had better technology. The human welcoming committee approached, led by Academy Director Olivia Blackstone. Her silver hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her ceremonial uniform bore the patches of someone who had logged serious time in deep space. Not that Zelarion bothered to notice such details. Welcome to Earth's International Space Academy, Prince Zelarion, Director Blackstone said, executing a perfect celestial bow. We're honored by your presence. Naturally, Zelarion replied, his secondary eyes scanning the group of students behind her. Such simple bipedal forms, lacking even basic bioluminescence or telepathic nodes. How did they manage to function? I trust the tour won't take too long. I have an appointment with my quantum meditation instructor in 3 hours. Director Blackstone's smile remained professionally fixed. We've prepared a streamlined itinerary, Your Highness. First, I'd like to introduce you to some of our top students. A group of young humans stepped forward, each wearing the distinctive blue and silver uniforms of the Academy's elite program. Zelarion noticed with mild interest that they ranged in age from what appeared to be early adolescence to late teens. These students represent our accelerated physics and xenoengineering programs, Director Blackstone continued. They've been particularly eager to learn about celestial technology. How precious, Zelarion drawled, his upper lip curling slightly. I do enjoy watching developing species attempt to grasp concepts beyond their evolutionary capacity. One of the students, a dark-haired boy who couldn't have been more than 12 Earth years old, raised an eyebrow at the prince's comment. There was something in his expression not quite disrespect, but certainly not the awe Zelarion was accustomed to receiving. Tell me, tiny human, Zelarion said, focusing all 4 eyes on the boy. What could you possibly hope to learn from beings as advanced as we are? The boy's response would prove to be the beginning of what diplomatic historians would later call the incident and event that would drastically reshape relations between Earth and the Celestial Empire, though not in any way Prince Zelarion could have anticipated. The dark-haired boy stepped forward, his academy uniform crisp and perfectly pressed. Marcus Rodriguez, he said, introducing himself with a slight bow that was just a fraction shorter than protocol demanded. And actually, Your Highness, I've been working on improving your Empire's quantum fold drive design. Zelarion's secondary heart skipped a beat, though his face remained carefully neutral. Improving? Our quantum fold drive? He let out a musical laugh that echoed through the hall. My dear child, our drives were perfected centuries before your species learned to walk upright. Respectfully, Your Highness, Marcus said, pulling out a holopad, there's a significant efficiency loss in the quantum manifold's tertiary matrix. By recalibrating the fold parameters using Earth's unique gravitational constants, I've theoretically increased power output by 47%. The prince's scales shifted from their usual royal purple to a mottled crimson. Behind him, Ambassador Nixis frantically tapped something into her neural interface. Theoretical calculations from a primitive computer, Zelarion sneered, though his upper left eye twitched nervously. Next, you'll tell me you've solved zero-point energy extraction while doing your Earth homework. Marcus shrugged, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. That was last semester's project, actually. Would you like to see the math? Director Blackstone stepped forward quickly, reading the dangerous glint in the prince's 4 eyes. Marcus is one of our most promising students. His work on quantum mechanics has already earned him 3 Nobel nominations. Nobel nomination Zarlax spat the words like they tasted of sour plasma. Your pathetic human accolades mean nothing in the greater galaxy. I mastered quantum physics while still in my spawning pod. Is that why you missed the obvious resonance cascade potential in the Mark 7 design? Marcus asked, genuinely curious. Because I noticed that right away. It's probably why your empire lost 3 ships in the Andromeda sector last year. The hallway fell silent. Even the environmental systems seemed to hold their breath. Ambassador Nixis closed all 3 sets of her eyes in quiet despair. You dare? Zarlax's voice thundered, his bioluminescent patches flaring bright enough to cast shadows. You dare to question the engineering prowess of the Celestial Empire, to imply that a human child could spot what our greatest minds missed. I'm not implying anything, Marcus replied calmly. I'm stating a fact. Would you like me to demonstrate? That was the moment something inside Prince Zarlax snapped. His ancestral pride, carried through 30 generations of celestial royalty, would not allow this insult to stand. Very well, human child, he hissed, his words carrying the weight of ancient tradition. By the laws of challenge established in the Galactic Concordat, I demand satisfaction. You will face me in the trial of mind and matter. Your Highness, Ambassador Nixis stepped forward, her tentacles writhing in distress. The Treaty of Soul explicitly prohibits challenging Earth minors to. I accept, Marcus interrupted, his brown eyes sparkling with what looked suspiciously like amusement. Director Blackstone's face had gone pale. Marcus, you don't have to. With all due respect, Director Marcus said, still looking directly at the fuming prince, I do. The prince has invoked the Concordat. If I refuse, Earth could lose its provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Zarlax's smug smile returned. Finally, the human showed proper respect for celestial traditions. The trial will commence in 3 Earth hours. Prepare yourself, tiny Marcus Rodriguez. You will learn the price of insulting the Celestial Empire. As the prince swept away in a swirl of quantum-shifted cape, his entourage scrambling to keep up, Director Blackstone turned to Marcus with a mix of concern and exasperation. Do you have any idea what you've gotten yourself into? She asked. Marcus watched the prince's retreating form, that same small smile still playing on his lips. Oh yes, Director. The question is, does he? In the luxurious guest quarters aboard his personal starship, Prince Zarlax was surrounded by a small army of trainers, advisors, and technical specialists. Holographic displays filled the air with swirling equations and combat simulations, while neural enhancement devices hummed softly in the background. Your Highness, please focus on the quantum probability matrices, his chief trainer, Master Volax, insisted. The trial of mind and matter often begins with complex mathematical challenges. Zarlax lounged on his anti-gravity meditation cushion, absently manipulating a sphere of pure energy between his 4 hands. Why should I waste time studying? This is a human child we're talking about. Their brains are barely more evolved than their primitive primate ancestors. Ambassador Nixis paced nervously, her tentacles tying themselves into increasingly complicated knots. The diplomatic implications of this challenge are reaching critical levels, Your Highness. The Galactic News Network is broadcasting live across 17 sectors. On multiple screens around the room, alien reporters from across the galaxy were indeed covering what they called the Duel of the Decade. A particularly popular Arcturnian news channel was running odds on the match. And in a shocking turn of events, the gelatinous anchor burbled. Betting odds have shifted dramatically in favor of the human contestant. Sources close to Earth's Academy claim young Marcus Rodriguez once reprogrammed a black hole's event horizon for a science fair project. Zarlax spat out his quantum-infused tea. What? That's impossible. Ambassador, demand they retract that ridiculous claim. Actually, Your Highness, Nixis consulted her neural feed. That story appears to be true. Though technically he only reprogrammed a micro-black hole, and it was for an extra credit assignment. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of the Academy's library, Marcus Rodriguez sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by old-fashioned paper books. No holographic displays, no neural enhancers, not even a basic quantum calculator. Instead, he was reading The Art of War while solving a Rubik's Cube with one hand and eating a peanut butter sandwich with the other. Director Blackstone found him there, her face etched with concern. Marcus, the entire diplomatic corps, is in crisis mode. The Centaurian ambassador is threatening to withdraw from the Sol Treaty, and the Galactic Council has sent 3 observers. Shouldn't you be preparing? Marcus took another bite of his sandwich. I am preparing, Director. Did you know that Sun Tzu said, supreme excellence consists of breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting? That's fascinating, but you're about to face a member of the celestial royal family in a trial that's traditionally used to determine succession rights. The prince has been genetically enhanced and trained since birth for exactly this type of challenge. True, Marcus nodded, completing the Rubik's Cube with a final twist. But he's also been pampered and told he's superior his entire life. That makes people predictable. He paused, glancing at a physics textbook. Also, I noticed his neural jewelry has a critical design flaw. The quantum resonance could be interesting. In the Academy's main hall, a team of engineers was preparing the trial arena. Ancient celestial technology merged with modern Earth systems, creating a space where mind and matter could be tested to their limits. Maintenance crews worked frantically to reinforce the structural integrity fields, remembering all too well what happened during Marcus's last physics practical. The betting odds continued to shift. The prince's own courtiers were quietly placing bets on the human, trying to be discreet about their lack of confidence in their ruler. The Galactic News Network had crashed 3 times from the unprecedented viewer traffic. Back in his quarters, Zarlax was beginning to feel the first twinges of doubt. Show me the human's academic records, he commanded. The holographic display materialized, showing Marcus's achievements. The prince's scales paled to a sickly lavender as he read. This can't be right, he stammered. He derived a new form of mathematics, while waiting for his lunch period. The humans call it doodling, Your Highness, Nixis supplied helpfully. Apparently he was bored. In the library, Marcus finally stood up, stretching casually. He'd finished his sandwich, solved the Rubik's Cube 67 times, and read through half the physics section. Director Blackstone watched him with a mixture of hope and terror. Just promise me one thing, she said. Try not to break any fundamental laws of physics this time. The paperwork from your last experiment took months to process. Marcus grinned, and for the first time there was a glint in his eye that hinted at why he was considered the most promising mind of his generation. Don't worry, Director. I'll stick to breaking the non-fundamental laws, mostly. As the hour of the trial approached, 2 very different preparations were concluding. One involved the most advanced training technology in the galaxy, a team of elite specialists, and an increasingly panicked prince. The other involved a sandwich, some books, and a 12-year-old boy who looked like he was about to have the time of his life. The Academy's Grand Assembly Hall had been transformed into an arena worthy of the Celestial Empire. Quantum field generators hummed softly, creating a shimmering dome over the central platform. Holographic displays floated above the audience, ready to broadcast every moment of the trial to the gathered dignitaries and the billions watching across the galaxy. Prince Zarlax made his entrance with appropriate pomp, his ceremonial armor gleaming with embedded quantum crystals. Each step triggered a cascade of light through his neural jewelry, a display meant to intimidate opponents with its demonstration of power and control. Marcus walked in wearing his regular Academy uniform, hands in his pockets, looking for all the world like he was heading to a casual lunch rather than a legendary trial. Several alien diplomats muttered disapprovingly at his apparent lack of respect for tradition. The Galactic Council's chief observer, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate crystalline shell, floated to the center of the arena. The trial of mind and matter will now commence. Its voice resonated through the hall. As the challenged party, Marcus Rodriguez has the right to choose the first test. Zarlax smirked. Most opponents chose something straightforward like quantum mathematics or temporal physics, easy enough to counter with his enhanced neural processors. Marcus stepped forward, that insufferably calm smile still on his face. I choose a game of rock, paper, scissors. A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. Ambassador Nixis frantically consulted her database. The prince's scales flickered in bewilderment. What trickery is this? Zarlax demanded. The trial must test intelligence and skill. Oh, it will, Marcus assured him. We'll play quantum rock, paper, scissors. All possible moves exist in superposition until observed. The winner must correctly predict and counter their opponent's quantum state. The chief observer's crystalline shell pulsed with interest. A fascinating modification of an Earth game to test quantum strategic thinking. The challenge is accepted. Zarlax relaxed slightly. Finally, something involving proper science. His neural processors could calculate quantum probabilities faster than any human brain. Begin, the observer commanded. Both contestants raised their hands. Zarlax's neural jewelry glowed as it processed billions of quantum calculations. Marcus just stood there, eyes closed, seemingly doing nothing. Rock, paper, scissors, reveal. Zarlax manifested a quantum paper state, proud of his complex strategic choice. Marcus showed rock, but not just any rock. His quantum state somehow incorporated every type of rock that had ever existed on Earth, from simple granite to complex metamorphic formations, each with its own probability wave. Invalid, Zarlax protested. He's exceeding the quantum state limitations. Actually, Marcus replied cheerfully, I'm using them all. Every possible rock state exists in superposition until observed. I just kept them all there. Paper beats rock, but can paper beat every rock that ever was or could be, simultaneously? The observer's shell sparkled with amusement. The human's quantum state is valid, if unusually complex. Point to Marcus Rodriguez. In the audience, a team of celestial physicists was frantically taking notes. 3 of them appeared to be having existential crises. Next round, Marcus announced before Zarlax could protest further. The prince's scales had taken on a distinctly worried hue. This time, Zarlax poured everything into his quantum calculations, his neural jewelry practically smoking with the effort. He manifested scissors, but not just regular scissors, quantum probability scissors that should have been able to cut through any possible defense. Marcus showed paper again. But this time it was a quantum state of homework assignments. Specifically, all the homework assignments he'd ever turned in late, existing in a state of being simultaneously due and not due. The temporal uncertainty principle creates a quantum anomaly, Marcus explained to the bewildered prince. Your scissors can't cut my paper because they can't determine when it exists to be cut. The observer's crystalline shell was vibrating with barely contained glee. Point to Marcus Rodriguez. The human demonstrates remarkable quantum creativity. In the stands, Director Blackstone had her face buried in her hands, but her shoulders were shaking with suppressed laughter. The alien media was going wild, with commentators trying to explain what they were seeing to their confused audiences. One more oddly creative quantum solution, and I'll scream, Zarlax muttered, his neural jewelry sparking with frustration. The final round began. This time, Zarlax decided to go with rock, the most solid, definable quantum state he could manage. No more clever tricks from the human. Marcus showed scissors, but not physical scissors. His quantum state represented the abstract concept of decision-making itself, the very act of cutting away possibilities to reveal truth. You can't do that, Zarlax shrieked, all pretense of royal dignity forgotten. You can't quantize abstract philosophical concepts. Why not? Marcus asked innocently. The Copenhagen interpretation suggests consciousness itself collapses quantum probability waves. I'm just reverse engineering the process. The observer's shell was now pulsing with all the colors of the spectrum. The human solution, while unconventional, adheres to all fundamental laws of quantum mechanics. Match and first trial to Marcus Rodriguez. The audience erupted. Several quantum physics professors had to be helped out of their seats, mumbling about rewriting textbooks. Ambassador Nixus was simultaneously trying to send damage control messages to the Celestial Empire and place more bets on Marcus. Zarlax stared at his opponent, his royal composure completely shattered. But how? Our neural processors are the most advanced in the galaxy. That's probably the problem, Marcus said kindly. You're so focused on processing power, you forgot that quantum mechanics is weird. Sometimes the best solution is to out-weird it. As the maintenance crew reset the arena for the next trial, Zarlax had a sinking feeling that this was going to be a very, very long day. For the second trial, Zarlax chose what he considered his ultimate weapon, practical application of advanced physics. The arena transformed into a series of floating platforms, each surrounded by different gravitational fields and quantum anomalies. Now, human child, Zarlax announced, his confidence somewhat restored, we shall see how well you handle real physics, not just theoretical games. Marcus looked around the arena with genuine delight. Oh wow, you made a playground. This is going to be fun. Before Zarlax could protest that this was most certainly not a playground, Marcus took a running leap onto the first platform. Instead of fighting the shifting gravity fields, he surfed them, like a kid at a skate park. Impossible, Zarlax sputtered. Those gravitational waves are programmed with complex celestial algorithms. Yeah, but they're still just waves, Marcus called back, executing a perfect flip between platforms. Pretty much the same physics as the ocean. I went surfing last weekend. The prince frantically adjusted the quantum anomalies, creating what should have been an impassable barrier of warped space-time. Marcus responded by pulling out his peanut butter sandwich from earlier, or rather, half of it. "What are you doing?" Zarlax demanded, watching in horror as Marcus tossed the sandwich into the quantum field. "Testing a theory," Marcus replied. "See, peanut butter has this amazing property where it always lands peanut butter side down. But I wrapped it in quantum entangled bread, so when it hits your anomaly." The sandwich, caught between quantum uncertainty and the universal law of peanut butter sandwiches, created a cascade effect. The quantum barrier collapsed in on itself, transforming into a series of perfectly stable stepping stones. "That's not, you can't." Zarlax's neural jewelry was starting to smoke. "You're breaking every rule of proper quantum manipulation." "No, I'm just using different rules," Marcus explained, hopping across his sandwich-created pathway. "Earth physics is all about working with what you've got. Like, did you know you can use hot sauce to stabilize micro-wormholes? Something about the capsaicin molecules." In the audience, the physics professors had given up taking notes and were now just drinking heavily. The Galactic News Network's primary AI had crashed 3 more times trying to explain what it was seeing. Zarlax made his last desperate move. He activated his neural jewelry's full power, attempting to rewrite the arena's fundamental constants. But in his panic, he'd forgotten Marcus's earlier comment about the jewelry's design flaw. "Oh, you really shouldn't have done that," Marcus said, wincing sympathetically. "Your quantum resonance is about to." The prince's elaborate neural jewelry suddenly started playing Earth pop music. Specifically, "Never Gonna Give You Up" by Rick Astley. "Did you just weaponize an ancient Earth meme through quantum entanglement?" Ambassador Nixis asked, her tentacles tied in knots of disbelief. "Not exactly," Marcus replied. His neural net was already vulnerable to quantum resonance. "I just helped it find something fun to resonate with. Though technically we did just prove that quantum rickrolling is possible. That should be worth a research paper at least." Zarlax stood frozen, his royal dignity in tatters, as his neural jewelry continued to blast 20th century Earth music across all quantum frequencies. Somewhere in the Andromeda galaxy, 3 passing starships spontaneously began playing the same song. "I understand now," the prince said quietly, his scales shifting to a humble shade of blue. "This whole time, I thought superior technology meant superior intelligence. But you just understand physics in a way we never considered." "It's not about being superior," Marcus said, offering the prince his last remaining quarter of peanut butter sandwich. "Earth physics had to get creative because we started late. No neural processors, no quantum crystals. Just a lot of weird ideas and a willingness to try them." The chief observer's crystalline shell had cracked slightly from containing its amusement. "The trial is concluded. Victor Marcus Rodriguez of Earth, by demonstration of unprecedented physical innovation and creative problem-solving." As maintenance crews worked to clean up the quantum peanut butter and reset the arena's constants, Zarlax realized that this defeat might actually be the most important lesson of his royal education. Though he really could have done without the Rick Astley. The formal ceremony concluding the trial of mind and matter was unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever witnessed. Prince Zarlax, his neural jewelry now quietly playing elevator music that he couldn't quite shut off, stood before the assembled dignitaries with an expression of bewildered respect. In accordance with celestial tradition, the chief observer announced, its crystalline shell still showing hairline cracks from contained laughter, the victor may claim one boon from the defeated. Everyone expected Marcus to request advanced technology, or perhaps access to the Celestial Empire's legendary libraries. The betting pools had already opened on which demand would most embarrass the prince. "Actually," Marcus said, pulling out yet another peanut butter sandwich from somewhere, "I'd like Prince Zarlax to attend next semester's advanced physics seminar. As a student, not a guest lecturer." The assembly hall erupted in confused murmurs. Zarlax's scales shifted through several unprecedented colors before settling on a peculiar shade of mauve. "You want me to take classes? Here?" With humans, the prince sounded less offended than genuinely puzzled. Well, yeah, Marcus shrugged. You've got amazing computational skills and access to quantum technology we're still dreaming about. But you never learned to think outside the neural processor, you know. Imagine what you could do if you combined celestial technology with Earth creativity. Ambassador Nixis, who had finally untied her tentacles, began rapid calculating the diplomatic implications. This is actually brilliant. The educational exchange could revolutionize relations between our civilizations. Plus, Marcus added with a grin, we're doing a unit on Earth music next semester. Might help you understand why your jewelry won't stop playing the final countdown every time you try to teleport. The Galactic News Network was having a field day. In an unprecedented turn of events, the human victor has demanded education for his royal opponent. Sources say the Celestial Empire's Ministry of Science is already preparing to revise their entire approach to physics, starting with a thorough investigation of sandwich-based quantum mechanics. Prince Zelarion stepped forward, his ceremonial cape slightly singed from various quantum mishaps. I accept this instruction, though I have one condition. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Oh, you must explain to me how you transformed my quantum barrier using processed Earth legumes and grain products. My royal pride may never recover, but my scientific curiosity is genuinely piqued. Deal, Marcus laughed. Though fair warning, the explanation involves both quantum tunneling and why humans think putting peanut butter and jelly together was a good idea. Director Blackstone watched from the sidelines as the prince and the prodigy began an animated discussion about the physics-defying properties of Earth food. Should we be concerned that they're becoming friends? She asked Ambassador Nixis. The ambassador's tentacles curled thoughtfully. Consider this: the heir to the Celestial Empire is currently learning that humans turned their planetary defense grid into a recipe for something called pop rocks. I'd say concern is an entirely inadequate response. In the weeks that followed, the implications of the duel rippled across the galaxy. The Celestial Empire's Scientific Academy began a comprehensive study of Earth's alternative physics applications, with a particular focus on why Earth teenagers seem to instinctively understand quantum uncertainty better than their most advanced AI. Prince Zelarion, much to everyone's surprise, threw himself into his new role as a student with unexpected enthusiasm. His first research paper, Quantum Entanglement Through Internet Memes, a serious analysis of human information transfer, was already generating buzz in academic circles. As for Marcus, he continued his studies with the same casual brilliance that had characterized his duel performance. Though the Academy had to institute a new rule about using food items in quantum experiments after an incident involving a grilled cheese sandwich and an accidental tear in the space-time continuum. 1 month after the duel, Marcus found the prince in the Academy's cafeteria, staring in fascination at a Jell-O cup. I've analyzed this substance for hours, Zelarion announced, poking the wobbling dessert with a spoon. It simultaneously exhibits properties of both solid and liquid states, yet humans give it to their young as entertainment. Was your entire species born understanding non-Newtonian physics? Nah, Marcus replied, sitting down with his lunch. We just like playing with our food. Speaking of which, want to see what happens when you quantum entangle a marshmallow? The prince's neural jewelry, which still occasionally played Earth music at inconvenient moments, began humming the theme from Bill Nye the Science Guy. You know, Zelarion said, watching the Jell-O continue its improbable oscillation, I'm beginning to think my ancestors made a terrible mistake by focusing on computational precision. They should have spent more time throwing food at quantum barriers just to see what would happen. That's probably the most human thing you've ever said, Marcus grinned. There's hope for you yet, Your Highness. 1 year later, Prince Zelarion stood before the Celestial Empire's Grand Council, delivering his report on Earth education methods. His neural jewelry, finally reprogrammed but still occasionally humming Earth tunes, sparkled in the council chamber's light. In conclusion, he announced, I propose a complete overhaul of our educational system. The humans have shown us that true innovation comes not from processing power, but from the willingness to ask, and I quote, what if we tried something completely ridiculous? The council members shifted uncomfortably in their quantum-stabilized seats. And your evidence for this approach's effectiveness? Zelarion grinned, a very human expression he'd picked up during his studies. Well, thanks to Marcus Rodriguez's latest experiment, we now know that you can stabilize a wormhole using nothing but a rubber band, 2 paper clips, and something humans call hot sauce. Our entire transportation network could be revolutionized by items from an Earth office supply store. As the council erupted into chaotic debate, Zarlax's neural jewelry began quietly playing the times they are a-changin' for once. He didn't try to stop it. After all, any species that could turn a peanut butter sandwich into a quantum physics breakthrough deserved respect. Even if they still couldn't figure out how to make proper quantum-shifted ceremonial capes without getting them tangled in ceiling fans.